Never before in all our history have these forces been so united against one candidate as they stand today. They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
The needs of working families and the middle class, not just the billionaire class. We know what's going on. We are paying attention.
Good morning, everybody. It is Saturday. I was supposed to come on by myself. Yeah, it's Saturday. And I'm not going to say what I normally say. I'm just going to bring everybody on. This is everybody. Hi, we have Adriel here.
Hello. Good morning, America.
We're approaching pure Brady Bunch montage here.
Again. Yes.
Look the right way.
Squares.
Hi, down there.
All right, so good morning, everybody. It's nice to have you all here. 19 of you already. That's fantastic. We are going to got a lot to talk about today, actually. Adriel Hampton is here. He is going to tell us about what's going on in progressive politics, and he's got some serious stuff to talk about as well. Amos has got some stuff about plastics, and Laura's going to talk about the California Convention with Adriel. And Markus, I didn't even look at what your content was today. I have no idea.
Yeah, we're talking about the German right-wingers and their completely stupidity.
Oh, well, it's right-wingers. What do you expect? But first, really quick, hang on, I don't even have it pulled up. I got to tell you about the Burn app. And I want you to go here and do this. app.berniesanders.com and map.berniesanders.com. So I did this training on Wednesday, and this is not the 2016 campaign. This campaign has its shit together. I'm not saying they did bad in 2016. I'm just saying they're highly organized. There's thousands and thousands of people involved. I'm in the Slack, all right? And what you want to do is you want to do the app.berniesanders.com to get connected. Map.berniesanders.com is when you let them know you're doing an event. June 1st is a big day for Bernie, but I don't want to give away too much information. If you want to get connected with any aspect of the campaign, doing any part of it, volunteering for anything, you got to start here. And then all of those pieces are in there, and they are organized, and they do have people answering questions and volunteers taking your calls, and they do have a response team. And so it's not like you end up in a void. All right. It's that engine that we were talking about that we needed in 2016 that we didn't have. So he's building that. And by using this app, all right, the Burn app, you are going to be building that database that they keep from us, the van voter database, right? Bernie's kind of building his own. Now, I want to correct some of the confusion there is on this app. There's two modes. There's friend to friend, and then there's canvassing. Friend to friend, they're not asking you to data mine your friend's information or get their Facebook passwords or anything like that. They just want you to find your friend, so they have the whole voter database plugged into this app, and you put in your friend's name and a zip code, and they go, is this your friend? And if it is a match, then you go, yes, that's my friend. And then you don't have to really answer any other questions about your friend. All right? If you know that your friend likes Bernie Sanders, you say, yeah. Or if you know that your friend likes somebody else, maybe. Other than that, that's it. All right? When you're canvassing with this app, you are building the database, but you're not out there going, please give me your phone number. All right? You've got all the issues that Bernie, his policies on this app. So basically, you're out there saying, hi, anybody want to talk to me about Bernie Sanders? Because I got the information right here. Let's talk about his policies. Right? And if in the process of that conversation, because you're basically just testifying for Bernie, in the process of that conversation, if the person's like, yeah, I'm interested in knowing more, or I'd like to volunteer, or whatever, well, would you like to fill out your information on the form that's on my application here? That's when they collect information. If you reach a point in your conversation where that person's like, sure. Right? There was a lot of confusion about this. Like, oh my God, it's an organizing app and they're collecting information on people. Yeah, that's what it does. The van voter database has all your information too, but what's interesting about that one is it's largely inaccurate. I know because I worked with it here in Oregon, and it was very inaccurate from what I saw. So let's build a new one that's not so inaccurate. And this is where we do it. Anybody that wanted to see a new party, okay, if you're going to make a new party, if you're going to take over a party, if you're going to change a party, you need an infrastructure. All right.
This is it.
This is it. Do it. All right. And now, from that, to talk more about much bigger things, we're going to bring in Laura.
Show the map. Show the map, though.
Oh, yeah. I got to pay this. So this is cool. Now, the map, this is cool. So, actually, I'm gonna brag about a few things real quick. I'm going to brag about a few things. This is really cool. That's not a blown up version. If you zoom in, there are hundreds and hundreds of other little dots.
Yeah.
All right. I was on one of at least 4. I think there were many more calls. There were at least 400 people on my call. There were 500 people on another person's call that was an hour earlier. All right. There are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people involved in this. You plan an event, you put it on this map, and that's basically canvassing. This is the infrastructure. This is us going out and taking over the Democratic Party. Right here.
This is how we find our local tribes, too.
Yep.
Because I was kind of despairing at that. When they had the organizing event, I didn't really connect with I thought it would be connecting with a big group. And actually, there was the big group, the Santa Cruz for Bernie, that were actually did at the last minute scheduled a big event. But I'd already RSVP'd for another one.
Right.
It's finding the local people. And I shared this show on their Facebook page. Hopefully, they'll approve it and they'll be seeing it. But I don't know any local people. I don't. My reach is on the interwebs, and it's international, at least national. And we do need to have that ground game of people nearby, I think, for like who's going to ride with me to the rally.
Yeah, and so connecting with people there, that can happen through this, and it can happen in the Slack too, because you're going to meet people. They're really doing their best to try to connect everybody on not only where you are, but what you want to do or can do for the campaign.
How do you get in their Slack? Is it by invitation?
You start with the app. Right? Here's what seems to be the process. Now, if they're no longer doing these trainings, that would be surprising. But you do the app, which means I'm volunteering, I'm connected, and I would like to join this process. Then they'll contact you about doing a training event, and then you will join a conference call for the training. At the end of that conference call, they will send you a link to join their Slack. All right. So that's basically how it works. If you've volunteered for it. And I didn't take a screenshot of this, but the coolest. The reason this is going to win, the reason Bernie is going to win, the reason we're going to win, all right, regardless of who actually takes power, is because they've gamified it. All right, they've made it points. Now, hopefully, they'll take this virtual economy and carry it through. But they're working with the generation that totally understands gamification. They grew up on gamification, and so when you add somebody to your app, right, you get 10 points. Yeah. And what I saw, all right, is I'm a little younger than the gamification generation. My generation created that shit. All right. So you go into the Slack, and the first thing they're asking people to do is to post a screenshot of how many points they've made so far.
Yeah. I've seen people putting that on Twitter also.
4,000, all sorts of numbers all over. I'm like 40. I put in 4 family members.
That was what my Barack Obama did. I really got into presidential politics really for the first time through myBarackObama.com. I'd followed it before, but I followed it through mainstream media.
Right.
And when they gamified myBarackObama.com and you could see leaderboards with your friends on them, it got really exciting.
I had no idea they did that with Barack. Wow.
And then they let it go. They dismantled. They were not about a political revolution. They were about a single campaign.
Oh, man. Imagine if they continued the point system. Yeah. That would have been brilliant.
Yeah, you could have millions of points. You'd be trading them in for Lincoln bedroom visits.
Right.
No, you could be. That's how you earn your delegate status.
Oh, my gosh. Anything, whatever. It's a virtual economy, so you make up whatever. You know? Sign poster by whatever,
Volunteer. Yeah, I mean, you have to, those kind of point systems understand that volunteer labor is worth something, not just financial donations being worth something. So
handing somebody a T-shirt that cost you $5 is probably worth $5 million in terms of investment. It's
Right.
just insane.
I've got my stickers. I've got a stack of Bernie stickers.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that I got off Etsy, and they're fabulous. So I am gonna have them handy if I'm tabling or whatever. It's like,
it's great to hear
My
about
goal
that,
is-
John, about that experience, because I heard the criticisms of the Burn app and I thought they were stupid because I know how organizing works, but I haven't yet been on one of those trainings.
It's so I did not know what to expect, and you know me, I've got some expectations, and so they had one technical issue, which was just bringing in the special guest, but
And you were like, I could have solved that one for you.
It was they're using conference calling. They're doing really simple, so that it's not crazy. But this is what's really cool about it. And don't take this in the wrong way. Everybody who's done marketing and sales knows this. They've really set it up very much like a sales promotional kind of hype thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're really trying to build everybody's passions and energies during this thing. And at the end, they bring in the ringer, who's a guest, somebody big in the organization who just gets everybody fired up, and it's so much different. It's exactly what it needs to be. You know what I mean? In my view.
to compete on this field, yes.
Yeah. So, and on the other hand, I get emails from Joe Biden telling me that
Biden told me I was a top Democrat.
I know.
His data's not very good.
Are you? Wow.
I know. I saw that when you posted that. Oh, and then there's the ones from Nancy Pelosi who's saying all is lost. And she sounds like a soccer mom who's locked herself out of her minivan. I mean, she's just.
Well, and what does that do to the morale? What does that do to the morale? So one side, so this is what's so exciting is Bernie's doing points. You sign on, you're like, I have 4,000 and my buddy has this, and I need to get to the next rank. And Nancy Pelosi's telling you we've already lost. So the good thing is the centrists are going to be totally disempowered and disheartened, and the Bernie people are going to be really excited.
Yeah, and happy. They're panicking and writing a check, but they're not doing anything. We're happy giving $27 and getting out there and getting engaged and doing something.
They're not having sex. We are.
Making things worse.
You better contextualize that for posterity.
Oh, the Alyssa Milano sex strike.
Yeah.
I have no slides for this.
Look it up. I can't. I don't want to get it.
No, I just want to contextualize it for people who are saying, okay.
She's trying to get people to stop having sex because of the abortion ban in Georgia. And meanwhile, I'm watching Georgia activists are really mad because they're saying, look, this takes effect in 2020. We have time to fight it. We should be organizing to fight it. White liberals like Alyssa Milano should be here in Georgia working with us, not calling for bans on sex and also on the economy of Georgia. There's apparently, calls for banning business with Georgia, and the activists are saying like that helps poor people. It's like sanctions. They're like, sanctions. We'll do sanctions of Georgia to fight the right wing, and the right wing will get more powerful under sanctions.
Yeah. Anyway, I realize we just kind of sideways into this. Let me properly introduce you to the group. This is Adriel Hampton. We've been working with you now for 2 years now. You've been a regular on our shows.
First time, yeah.
And lots of things have changed. So
the first time on the show, not the first time I had sex 2 years ago.
Thank you for that contextual reference.
But good. Anyway, so thank you for coming and tell us what you are up to these days. And I really want you to talk a bit about the upcoming California Democratic Party convention happening at the end of the month in San Francisco. This is a big deal and big things are going to be decided. We'd love to get in the know with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure. I'm here today out in San Francisco and excited to have the California Democratic Convention here in the city. They actually rotated around so folks from Northern and Southern California can get to it. And with it right here, I just like roll down the hill and then party for 3 days, because that's part of what it's about, actually, for political junkies. But to introduce myself, Adriel Hampton, I am a political consultant, advertising consultant, strategist. Presently, I'm actually volunteering in a personal capacity as a senior advisor for Mike Gravel. That's where all the Bernie bros are. No, actually, it's where all the people under 20 are, I think. For the moment, Mike Gravel is a radical anti-war candidate running for president, and his campaign is actually managed by two teens from Westchester, really smart guys. So that's been fun. Professionally, I'm working with Shahid Buttar, who's running against Nancy Pelosi here in District 12. I think you mentioned before in the green room that 2 years ago I worked with another candidate named Stephen Jaffe, who kind of didn't really make the long haul that's required for this particular race. I worked with him in 2017. Shahid actually got in late, and I didn't work with him because I'd done so much strategic work with Jaffe. I didn't feel it would be appropriate. However, I thought he was a great candidate. A lot of my friends recommended him highly, and he was co-endorsed by the San Francisco Bernie-crats, which at the time I was one of the board members of. And I'm also doing a lot of work with a new PAC, which we can talk about after we talk.
Yes, I've got some slides on that ready. I really want to talk to you about that because you opened my eyes on a few things about how the different parties are using social media. But let's start with the convention, the California Democratic Convention in San Francisco, May 31st to June 2nd, so the end of this month. I know we'll have a lot of people that we know who are going to be there. We hope you're going to be capturing everything that goes on, but tell us.
I'll put Twitter back on my phone,
Okay, yeah, please. So give some context about what's going to happen at this convention. And I know one of the things that we're going to be doing is choosing a new Democratic, the chair of the party. So I want you to tell us a little bit about who's up for that and why. Sure,
yeah. So I think just to give a bit of context around the California Democratic Party convention, Democrats are the largest party registration in California, and where Republicans are now the third party. Independents, nonpartisan voters are actually the second. And when you talk about the 3 million votes that Hillary got in the popular vote over Donald Trump, like most of those are from California. It's just a massive voting population, and the independents, swing heavily Democratic as well.
Right.
So then you get into really interesting issues for progressives. One of them is that, the Democratic Party, like the Republican Party, does like to disenfranchise voters. In California, they allow independent, nonpartisan voters to vote in the Democratic primary. In many states, they do not, or they set up hurdles to doing so. In California, there are some technical hurdles, but those have actually been dramatically reduced. So this is a really strong state now for Bernie. A lot of folks thought that when they opened up the primary, made it an early primary, a March 2020 primary, that would favor Kamala Harris because she's a local senator. She's a political star here in California. However, what John was talking about, the organization of the Bernie campaign actually favors an organized grassroots candidate, especially because with an open primary, they're going to send letters to nonpartisan voters reminding them how to vote in the Democratic primary. It won't say how to vote in the Democratic primary. It'll say how to vote in a primary, right, in an open primary. Right. And so it's not going to be a partisan thing. It's going to be a thing that makes it very easy for people to vote in the primary of their choice. And because we have millions and millions of these unregistered voters. Now, this event coming up at the end of the month, the beginning of January, is going to be a big party for Democrats. And we're expecting half or more of the presidential campaigns to be there. Bernie's expected to be there. Probably many of them will be speaking from the stage. And then the second huge thing that's happening, besides like a presidential roadshow because of our early primary, is the vote for Democratic Party chair. Now, if you followed national politics, this is just one step down from DNC style politics because there's so many Democrats and California has so much money that funds the party. The race with Tom Perez was a very rare, highly contested race. And normally the California Democratic Party chair is the same way. It's not highly contested. And John Burton, who was a former legislator, former congressman, had been the chair for a long time. And And John Burton was not, he was like one of those fake progressives where they're socially liberal, but feeding business interests, feeding lobbyist interests, really doesn't like the grassroots. And what happened in 2016, he was stepping down and they had a convention, and there's a woman running named Kimberly Ellis. And it was interesting because she wasn't a Bernie-crat, but she caught the fire of the grassroots. And a lot of the Bernie folks really wanted to support her, especially after we'd suffered having our primary, or the election called for Hillary Clinton on the evening of our primary here in California. And people had been disheartened, but they got super fired up about Kimberly. There was a big fight. Very close race between her and this guy named Eric Bauman, who was chair of the LA County Democratic Party. And he was known as a Democratic Party boss, as like an heir apparent to Burton. And so she was coming out of nowhere. She was not supposed to do so well. Very closely contested race where John Burton was like telling progressives to fuck off. He was a very foul-mouthed guy who, had equal hate for both Republicans and progressives. And she came super, super close, and it ended up being very contentious. A lot of legal wrangling after the vote, a lot of allegations about vote rigging. But Bauman came out on top very narrowly. And then very soon after he got in, faced allegations of sexual misconduct, improper behavior with staff, as well as improper behavior with Democratic activists. And he ended up probably saving the party even much more drama by resigning. And then the whole thing kind of disappeared, although there's an investigation that I think either has not been concluded or has not been released. So Kimberly Ellis, who, really, when you run for that kind of election where you're taking on a party boss, she was getting like threats from other party members about how her career was over. And she was a party insider. She just wasn't a party boss, right? And she's local. She lives across the bay from me. I love Kimberly Ellis. In fact, someone approached me and said, hey, do you want to work on the chair race? And I said, well, I'm in the tank for Kimberly, and I think she has staff, so probably not. And it turned out, and my friend was asking about another candidate who turned out to be good as well. So the other candidate is named Duraka Larimore Hall. And Duraka is interesting because, so Kimberly decided to run again, and she has much of the same support she had before. Duraka is interesting because he was a Bernie delegate. He was at the DNC convention, as a Bernie delegate with all of that craziness, again, with people, a lot of emotions. He's from Santa Barbara, so he's more well-known in Southern California, whereas Kimberly Ellis is more known up here in Northern California. And Duraka is also a Democratic Socialist. I believe he is a card-carrying member of the DSA. He's open Democratic Socialist like Bernie. So these are the two progressives, I would say, the people who are vying for the grassroots vote. Kimberly Ellis was the head of Emerge, which was a nonpartisan organization that trains women to run for office. And the biggest criticism of her is not about her. It's about the fact that Emerge has trained a lot of people who've done well who are centrists, right? Or, not progressive Democrats. And Duraka, I don't know him as well because I only met him through this race, but I was favorably impressed. I met him in the East Bay a few months ago. And then the third candidate who is prominent is named Rusty Hicks. And this is where the race gets really interesting because the grassroots in California, when I say there's these big parallels between the Democratic Party nationally and the Democratic Party apparatus and legal structure in California, they really don't like activists. They don't want fucking Bernie Sanders supporters taking over their party. And I ran for office a decade ago and had to learn about the party apparatus the same way a lot of Bernie crats did in 2016, the same way John has learned about the Oregon State Party. I learned about California State Party because that's where you needed to get endorsements no matter what office you're running for, as I was running for federal office. And one of the things I learned is that the party itself is incredibly progressive. Like the people of the party, the platform of the party is amazing, the California platform. Like it has things in like anti-ICE stuff, like I think it has anti-fracking at this point. And the activists do a lot of work to get themselves elected to these party committees where they get to shape the platform. However,
and the caucuses too. There's an amazing
the Progressive Caucus is the largest caucus by far. The Environmental Caucus is huge and is led by a really powerful activist from Ventura in Southern California. But the legislators themselves get elected by industry, by the frackers, by the oil industry, by big tech, by pharma. And then, like Eric Bauman, they fight tooth and nail to protect the interests of those industries. And they're not very progressive. They don't really like the grassroots. They will, they'll come to your barbecue for your grassroots thing, but they're not doing your work very well.
Okay, we need to change this. We need to change this.
So Rusty Hicks is their firewall, because if the chair of the party is a Democratic socialist or, someone that the Bernie-crats have elevated and kind of, I wouldn't say control, but are the base for, like Kimberly Ellis, they're going to have a problem, the legislators, because it's going to be hot to be a industry-backed legislator when the grassroots controls the party.
Right.
So Rusty Hicks is president of the LA County Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO, and he's a big union guy. Yeah. And when he came in as a ringer, people were saying, "Who's this guy, Rusty Hicks? I've never heard of him," especially in Northern California. Yeah. In Southern California, though, they knew who he was, and in union politics, they knew who he is. Yeah. And if there's anything nearly as strong as, say, the Bernie grassroots, it's labor in California. And I would say they're probably even stronger. So he's a very, very serious contender. And it's going to be a race between these three. And there's a handful of other candidates who don't have a shot. And so what it's going to come down to is, do Kimberly and Daraca between them have a strong majority of the votes? So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very contentious. It's also been really weird because this sex scandal, harassment scandal with the former chair is figuring very large. There's a lot of allegations flying around that the party, remember that Bernie had that confab to hear from staff in 2016 about allegations of harassment and misogyny or mistreatment on the campaign, how they're going to do better this time, how they're going to, be more professional. Well, that's what the Democratic Party in California is going through. They've got, they're saying that party leaders and party activists, there's a lot of harassment, there's a lot of improper behavior, and there's no real mechanism for dealing with that stuff. And so that's been one of the big issues. So that's what's going on. So it'll be a big party in San Francisco with lots of presidential candidates jockeying for votes for our early primary, and a lot of tension around the future of the party. Is it going to be grassroots? Is it going to be well run? And a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen in this election.
Well, hopefully it'll at least be a mixture of the two. Because I hate it to be just badly run or
I am hopeful. The two leading progressive candidates are great. And I think if Rusty Hicks wins, I think the party will get more professional, but I don't know if that's good for the grassroots. It would be good, hopefully, for these harassment issues.
Does the strength of Bernie's current campaign and his grassroots organization lend a certain flavor to an event this big that's talking about?
Absolutely. So one of the things I'm excited about is they have, they call it the Bernie-crats dinner, and they've been doing it now for a while around these party events. Because they actually happen twice a year, but this is the big one. Right. That'll be Friday night, and I think they're expecting 800 people. Wow. Rocada is going to come be like a featured speaker, so that's going to be a ton of fun. And the Bernie grassroots has done very well at taking official positions in the party. The problem is, just like the DNC has superdelegates, the California Democratic Party has delegates who are appointed by the legislators. So there's elected delegates who are majority progressive, and then there are appointed delegates who are there as a firewall. So it could actually get ugly when they have this vote. So I don't know.
Will Nancy Pelosi be there?
Oh yeah.
This is where knowing your Roberts.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, so all right. So as we get closer to it, we want to coordinate
stage. I think that I think that we're going to make that happen.
Good. Oh, good. So as we get closer, we'll coordinate with you. We really want to get some from on the ground perspective during that weekend. So we'll talk.
That'll be awesome. I just want to say, I really hope those of you involved, Adriel and everybody else, this is where Robert's rules will come in handy.
Right.
Knowing your parliamentary procedure, because if somebody with the gavel tries to pull a Roberta and just say, we're done here, right? You guys know how to stop that shit. And it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. So this is going to be exciting stuff, right?
Is this a platform determining, or is this organizing this this particular convention? Or both?
I think that they will have platform work.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
Especially through the caucuses, and then I believe the platform committee will have work.
Okay.
As we've all learned, though, platforms are neat, but they're not binding, so they're kind of useless.
Yeah, we need the chair.
Yeah. Yes.
Need the chair.
Well, that will be really interesting. Well, the article that you sent me was telling because it had a description of the 3 candidates in it, and Rusty Hicks at the top with a huge paragraph and multiple bullets, and then small paragraphs for Daraka and Kimberly way at the bottom. And Daraka's the vice chair. I mean, he would be
right. Yeah, and he was the one who really he took the complaints seriously and started breaking the silence about the culture of harassment in the party leadership. So there was actually, at first I was kind of critical of him because I thought he was doing it just for his own good. And then I realized how bad it was for the party, how serious it was for these victims who faced career repercussions for, based on this power imbalance with the chair. And I was like, man, this guy's doing a good service. Even though I really love Kimberly, I respect what he's doing. But yeah, Rusty Hicks is the ringer. Immediately when he got in, immediately after the resignation, people started getting those cell phone calls, those automated calls saying, it's Rusty Hicks, I want to set up a meeting with you, know. And they have probably unlimited money because the chair race is not capped in any way. And California politics actually has very wide latitude for corporate spending already.
Wow. Okay, that is a perfect segue to what I want to talk about you next. And I know we've taken some time in this, but I think this is really good. But I want you to take a few minutes and tell us about the Lefty League. It's a PAC that you've created to help the left get better at social media, cooperation. Tell us more about it.
Yeah. So, for folks who want to learn more, it's the leftyleague.org. I've also got a Medium. Everything is under the Lefty League right now.
And we've got it in the description of the video as well.
Okay, great. Are you playing the video? I don't want to.
We would like to, if you want to.
Yeah, maybe let's play the video and then I'll talk about it because the video.
John, do we have it handy?
Well, you got to give me a second. Keep talking.
I know.
So, and John, if you keep the sound down, I can talk over it.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
It's just like a 30-second intro video. So the reason for the Lefty League is, and we were talking about again in the green room, in preparing for this segment, about how when you're in your own social media network, it's very easy to think that everyone's a Bernie-crat or everyone's a liberal or the conservatives are stupid. But the truth is that Ben Shapiro is the most popular guy in the media right now. And I'm not talking most popular, I'm talking Anderson Cooper levels of popularity. And it's because these bubbles exist for both us and for the conservatives. And their bubble is way bigger. And this is what we don't realize. So that graph right there, it said that the right is winning online. The problem we have is that Facebook is now bigger than mainstream media in terms of how many people see it. And even though younger people and younger voters might be on Twitter or Instagram more than they're on Facebook, the voters are on Facebook because that's where the older people are. And older people are the ones who vote at higher propensity. They have less, maybe less going on. They're used to voting. Once you voted in 20 elections, you're going to vote in the 21st, right?
Right.
And the problem that we have, and you can view that video again at the leftyleague.org, because I know it was very fast and I was talking.
And the link is in the description also.
There we go.
Great,
I'll just stop it and pull up a graph, or tell me where you want to stop it on. So.
That is actually good. That's a great graph to look at. So this is a report that I discovered while doing some work for GOTV in the national election last year. So basically trying to win back the House by getting young people out to vote. Young people are much more progressive, much more liberal, much more likely to vote Democratic as a whole. That doesn't mean that they all are. But that graph that you see there is right-wing publishers on Facebook versus left-wing publishers on Facebook. And what NewsWhip, which is like a PR news kind of analysis service that's pretty expensive, and they send out these white papers, And I was reading this white paper and I was like, oh my God, we're getting our asses kicked online, on Facebook. And while our grassroots game is incredibly strong, and I think that, for example, I think that Bernie and his grassroots army will just destroy Trump, because I don't think that the Trump voters who click and do Facebook comments are going to be able to get on these conference calls and these Slack groups and these texting groups and volunteering with Our Revolution in the same way that the Bernie voters are. Mm-hmm. One, the Bernie voters have been trained on this for years, since 2015. Two, they skew much younger. There's many more kind of digital natives. But the money and the attention that the right is putting into online media is incredible.
And the conversation that starts, they'll put it out there, and then you get all your friends and family talking about this stuff. Right.
And you'll notice that most of our left-wing friends are talking about what the right is doing and, attacking them, but our narrative is wrong. So instead of talking about the 4 progressive candidates running for president, instead we're talking about Ben Shapiro walked off of a BBC interview, right? And the critical problem is that the right has both, it gets reactionaries going. And there are plenty of Democratic reactionaries. They're called Joe Biden voters, but they might, also vote for Donald Trump if he makes them mad enough about immigration, because Joe Biden is not going to go attack immigrants as his strategy, but Trump will, and he'll pull these conservatives who are in the Democratic Party away from a candidate like Joe Biden and into his corner. He's going to talk about how China is evil. He's going to talk about how Mexico is the problem. He's going to talk about how
he'll go there.
Dictators. He will say horrible, horrible things. Like he will laugh about shooting immigrants. It's absolute insanity. And Facebook is fueling this in a big, big way. And Facebook has this very unique thing that other forms of media, like television and mail, that are used in campaigns and that are used very, very heavily by Democrats, don't have, which is, when your message goes viral because reactionaries respond to it, your advertising costs drop. And they can drop like by 50% or more. And so when Trump spends hundreds of millions of dollars on Facebook, he's getting 2x what a boring candidate from the center would get.
Wow.
And that is a real threat to our democracy. And this is, a lot of people are reporting about this. If you look, if you're not familiar with this, one of the best resources is a journal called Popular Information by a guy named, I'm going to forget the guy's name. So just look for Popular Information. A lot of reporting about what's going on Facebook. So it's not just Trump. It's that every form of right-wing media is getting funded to put out this kind of content. And a lot of it is, it's not just dark money. It's just straight up corporate donations. It's straight up billionaires funding news outlets. This is Breitbart. Epoch Times, which is a Chinese language newspaper that is associated with the Falun Gong. They've apparently decided that because Trump is fighting with China and the communist government of China that is oppressing the Falun Gong, that they're going to help Trump. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a week on Facebook ads for favoring Trump and favoring his insane conspiracy theories. Prager University, which is a project of a rich venture capitalist out here in California, I believe, is spending huge amounts of money promoting Trump's agenda and conspiracy theories and issues, as is Blaze TV. And basically, these are the new conduits for massive amounts of money. It goes right into Facebook. It goes right into making your grandma and your grandpa, your uncle and your aunt, your crazy cousin, right-wing cousin, really fucking pissed. They spread this. It goes viral. It's everywhere. So what is the solution?
Yes, please.
Well, my PAC is the solution. The Really Online Lefty League. It's Troll PAC, if you go for the acronym. Will we get, hundreds of millions of dollars in money to fight? Probably not. But what we can do is fight much, much, much more strategically. So we're working on building a grassroots fundraising base. It's actually, it's very, very early, but it's going well so far. We believe that by the end of the year, we'll be in the position to maybe spend $500,000 to $1 million ourselves on Facebook. And what we're going to do is amplify the best messaging from the left and also amplify a real progressive agenda. And our goal is to flip the Senate. And Democrats have almost no hope of flipping the Senate under the current methodology that they're using, where 95 to 97% of their media budget goes to TV, to mail, to other forms of 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s media, instead of fighting the actual war that's going on. So the Lefty League is here to fight the actual war that's going on. I'm getting the death threats to prove it. And our job is to, counter PragerU and tell folks that this agenda of Medicare for all, free college, a job guarantee, what are the other good ones? The Green New Deal, and $15 minimum wage, a living minimum wage, or at least a base that people can start from, is a winning agenda supported by the majority of the American population, independents, Democrats, and even enough Republicans to pull those voters back from Trump to us. So he can have reactionary Democrats. We're going to take open-minded Republicans, open-minded independents, and we're going to win the fucking election by fighting for values instead of Nancy Pelosi's utter garbage of self-impeachment and thinking that somehow investigating Trump is going to be enough to stop fucking fascism in the United States, because fascism is being funded on Facebook by the millions of dollars a week right now.
All right. So what do we do to help? So it's a leftyleague.org.
Thank you, Sean. The only thing you can do to help right now is give us money, and it doesn't have to. Like, if we can get, we're aiming to get tens of thousands of donors who will give $200 to $300 a year, and we'll be able to do serious fucking damage to these right-wing ghouls. And we're going to totally by-step the traditional party apparatus. We're going to totally by-step traditional campaigns. There was a report from Tech for Change that came out earlier this year. It's worth looking up. It was about the Senate campaigns in 2018. And it said that in these Senate races, they spent 5 to 7% of their budget on digital media, and they spent it too late. And when I say of their budget, that's of their communications budget. So maybe communications is 80% or 60%. Then they only spent, 5 to 7% of that.
Right.
And they spend it too late. If we get in fast and say, this is the Democratic agenda, it's Medicare for all, it's the Green New Deal, it's saving the world from climate change, people get excited and they'll remember the names of the Democratic candidates. They'll remember to vote Democratic. And whether those candidates are truly progressive or not, we can push that conversation and we can get in the candidates that we need. When we win the presidency, we need the Senate so we can pass this agenda fast enough to keep the country from falling apart because of inequality and, people who can't get their medical needs met, who can't meet their daily needs because, people can only survive so long under how bad our country is in decline.
This is not a time for half measures at all. Thank you so much for telling us about this, though, because I was really shocked at some of the things that you said about what's going on with the social media. So please, everyone, if you've got, throw a few dollars a month to the Lefty League as part of your donation strategy, that would be great. And we'll have a link to that.
Yeah, URL in the chat would be great. That was fantastic information. I had to
we have some great news about partners coming up. As soon as we move forward with some of that, I'll have to.
We'll have you back on, totally. And we'll have you back on after the convention or during the convention to tell us about it.
Yeah, and apparently my big demo, because I've been doing a lot of work increasing my Twitter presence, is stoners who like politics. So if you're a stoner who like politics, follow me on Twitter. If you like the Democratic convention, just look at my tweets at the end of the month, a couple of days of June.
I don't think you realize that demo, Stoners Who Like Politics, encompasses 99% of the Bernie crew. All right, so just let you know that.
There's good overlap with this show, I know.
Yeah. Adriel, I have so many questions to dive deeper into that with you that I'm concerned about. I love the idea, and I think this is phenomenal, and I'm very excited about it because I don't know. I kind of had the same idea a while back. In general, just to provide network media for Bernie Sanders because obviously he was getting blacked out. So, I would like to definitely talk to you more about this and address some questions that I have that I don't think we have time for right now.
Yeah, yeah. And the one thing that people can do also is definitely look at the Medium blog, because I'm putting a lot of our plans and strategy and thinking there. I think it's best to share strategy openly so that people can use it themselves in their own fights.
Sure.
You know, I don't think that we're not going to beat fascism by hiding in back rooms.
Right. Exactly. Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate
Thank you, Adriel.
everything you're doing. We'll have you back on to talk about that because, MSM is still part of the picture, and I'm a little concerned there. And I'm looking forward to seeing your messaging because I think I want to see how well that does. And you, those of you who don't know, Adriel has worked magic on social media, particularly in Facebook, for candidates. He's really got this thing going. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you so much, Adriel.
Thank you, Adriel.
Thank you. Thanks for what you do.
All right, yeah, absolutely. Who's there? There's Amos, right? Amos is next. All right. Where are you, Amos?
Enough about me.
I'm right here.
Eternal, hang on. I got so many. There's
Bodiless voice. Oh,
there you are. Well, and now he's gone because Adriel left, and I didn't switch the camera. Whoops. So give me a second and put him back up.
John, fix
This
it.
is
You can get me off of there.
that's what happens with this system.
That was a great segment.
It was.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was.
I always learn so much when Adriel is in the house. So we'll keep in touch with him. He's been a great resource.
There we go. Adriel back. Nate. Hang
And
on.
it's time to fight back in the social media against those right-wingers and Nazi assholes.
There we
I
go.
hope he's successful with this idea.
Yeah. Now all right. I can't even do a 4-shot with Markus. I got to fix that too. I need another engineer over here. Damn it! The guy who's over here is slow. He's stoned. All right.
Who is this name guy?
I don't need to be on there.
No. I just keep all. This is the transition from us into Amos.
Gotcha.
So Amos is. So while Adriel was talking about something that's really awesome and encouraging, Amos is going to take us back to where the show normally goes, which is depression. Thank you, Amos.
It's depressing.
Take it away.
All right. Well, to cheer you up, this is the first part of this, which is the problem. And we're going to talk about plastics. We talked about ocean extinction last week. And this is part of the reason why this is all happening. Aside from overfishing and pollutants, the chemical pollutants, plastic is a big problem. And once it was considered the miracle of modern technology, now it's come back to bite us. So basically, now we have a situation where 8 million tons of plastic is added to the ocean every single year, which is amazing if you think about that, and that's just destroying every form of life in the ocean. 236,000 out of the 236,000 tons are microplastics that get released every single year.
That's ridiculous. That's and you use the word amazing, but I just want to say that's too happy of an adjective because it's horrible. So, sorry,
it's horrifying.
Yeah, it is.
Appalling.
And if you look at the slide, this represent what those microplastics are. They're tiny little fibers. They're microscopic pieces up to pebble-sized pieces, and those end up in animals, in marine life, and have great impact on them. If you look at the next slide, there's every minute there is a garbage truck that's get dumped into the ocean, and Markus can tell you what what the truck here says.
Oh, I'm sorry. I cannot read it. If you can make it bigger, if you can increase it, then I can see it.
Can you see it now?
It says
in favor of the environment.
yes.
Well, that's a green truck. That's all you
Very
need.
cynical.
So so that's just like that stat is just unbelievable. Scientists believe that by 2050, plastics will exceed outgrow fish by weight. So we're literally replacing fish with plastic.
It's disgusting.
And this is something that permeates throughout. It's not just on the top of the ocean. It's going all the way through the ocean to the bottom floor. They've found plastics 7 miles deep. And these fish are more familiar with us and our garbage than we're familiar with them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. But it is not, I'm sorry if I interrupt you, Amos, but this is not really new, because if you know that microplastics are already into nearly every sea fish, right?
Yes.
And this is why I avoid sea fish, meanwhile.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't know if it's any better with sweetwater fish, but it's certainly a problem. And now scientists have started looking at how microplastics are distributed in the air. Apparently, the air is carrying a lot of these particles, microscopic particles, and we're breathing them.
Yes.
So this is just a very new area of study that they've started, and they've already found these pollutants in very supposedly clean areas like the Pyrenees and so forth. And why is this a problem? The problem is that one of the major things is that the sea animals don't distinguish between garbage and food. Often it looks like it, and they just simply ingest it. For example, there's a Pacific garbage patch that is between the U.S. and Japan, and 70. They took some turtles, and they found 74% of their diet was plastics by dry weight. That's
disgusting.
Unbelievable. And of course, fish eat it as well. Turtles are apparently the most endangered by this, and so are whales. They've recently found a whale with tons, with many pounds of plastics in their guts. And secondly, it's affecting the coral. It's these microplastics inflict little scratches on these organisms, which leads to infections. And like us, we're susceptible to that. The coral disease rose from 4% normally to 89% after coming into contact with plastics. And of course, environmentally is one thing, and the stuff that the way that it's impacting the environment is one thing, but it also, of course, has a financial effect. And ocean plastics pollution costs us $2.5 trillion a year. And basically, it's $33,000 per ton. If you're thinking of the 8 million tons that we introduce every year, you can come up with that number. It's just unbelievable. That's a slide that you skipped with the poor bear trapped in plastic.
That's lovely.
And we, of course, digest the all of this plastic when we're eating fish.
Yeah, so, like the sushi roll there. That's nice.
Yeah, it looks very appetizing, right?
Yeah. That's great. Don't show that to Starbucks mom in California.
The sad part of it is that we're at a situation where only 14% of plastic packaging is being recycled. We use 50% more. We use 50% that packaging that we're producing is actually single use. All this stuff spills onto the oceans, and finds its way there, we're losing $80 to $120 billion per year by not recycling all this plastic. But of course, it's a difficult situation because manufacturers are allowed to produce all types of plastic, and some of these are not even being recycled anymore. Like 4 and 5 plastics are barely recycled. And if you, in some locales, if you put them in with the recycling, you get fined. Wow. All of that stuff is going into garbage because nobody's recycling it. Not even China, which used to recycle up to now a lot of that stuff. Right. And this patch that we're talking about, and I have the video for the very end of the show. I recommend you to stick around and watch it. It's a very nice animation. This explaining about the patch in the Pacific, the garbage patch, and what it means. It's this recent year, it's been revealed that it's much larger than they thought. They thought it was 2 times the size of Texas. Well, the estimate now is 16 times that. It's basically the size, 3 times the size of France, if you can even conceive of that. This is an area that includes plastics not only floating, but all the way deep down into the ocean floor.
I thought we'd just run it, man. Thought we'd just run it now. It's poignant. Yeah. So we're losing our ice, but we're getting a bigger plastic garbage patches. Yeah. And I think that we're gonna have to leave the solutions for another time. There's certainly things that can be done and things that are being done, but I wanted to present the whole problem in one kind of like on the edge of a fork presentation. So, sure. There you have it. Thank you. Well, plus we've got the solutions would be good because we know we've got countries and places that are banning certain things and other stuff, straws and single-use plastics. I think somebody just did that. Some of the cities in the United States. So I'd like to talk about what we can do on that. That would be great. Yes. But thanks for that. And you want to watch a really depressing video? You can leave it to the end of the show, or you can play it now. Nah, let's just now. All right, here we go. Let's see how big a garbage patch we made, everybody. Be proud.
The world produces enough plastic each year to build 50 pyramids of Giza. That's over 350 million tons of candy wrappers, PVC pipes, and synthetic t-shirts. While most of it ends up in landfills, 8 million tons of plastic winds up in our oceans each year, where most of it finds its way into massive garbage patches around the world. And the biggest of them all is called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. If you picked up each piece of plastic in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, you'd carry away about 1.8 trillion individual pieces. That's 10 times more plastic pieces than there are stars in our Milky Way galaxy. And it would weigh a whopping 80,000 tons, equivalent to the weight of 3 Statues of Liberty. Half of the entire patch is made of plastic fishing nets, lines, and ropes, which come from intense fishing activity near the area. The other half is mostly hard plastics and films, like water bottles and plastic wrap. But don't let the name Great Pacific Garbage Patch fool you. It doesn't look like a giant mountain of trash at all. It's actually scattered over a region of ocean that's twice the size of Texas, according to some estimates. So if you wanted to pick up every piece of plastic, it would take you 121 days at a walking pace of 5 kilometers per hour to cover the entire area. Though in reality, there's no true end, since the garbage patch is constantly ebbing and flowing with the ocean currents. But let's pretend we could scoop it all up into one place. There'd be enough plastic to fill 100 Boeing 747 planes. And the patch is only getting bigger. It's actually been growing exponentially larger for nearly 70 years. Partly because once the plastic is there, it'll stick around for centuries. Those plastic fishing lines, for example, will take 600 years to break down. And even after they break down, the damage doesn't stop there. Most end up as microplastics that are too small to see with the naked eye, but can make it into the bellies of sea animals, and ultimately, the humans that will eat those animals. Worldwide, researchers have found ingested microplastics in every species of sea turtle, nearly 60% of whale species, and almost 60% of seabirds. Plus, more plastic is pouring into the world's oceans each day. In fact, experts estimate that by the year 2050, the amount of plastic in the oceans will outweigh all the world's fish. Think about that the next time you toss your water bottle in the trash because the recycling's full. Right.
Well,
Yeah,
Disturbing.
very disturbing.
it is.
Thanks for that.
And
disturbing
when you
report.
think about it, that even when you recycle, the best you can hope is one additional use of the plastic, and then you can't recycle it anymore. So
And in the United States, China stopped taking our plastics. So now, like, my place has sent me notices every month. We don't take your recycling. Stop putting this in the recycling. Don't put this in there either, or this, or this. And they leave it with a friendly message that says, leave it to us. Put it all in the big black one because it's all going to go in the same hole anyway. You know?
and at best it's piling up in these warehouses for now.
Yeah.
They're hoping there's going to be a market opening somewhere, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Imagine
I think-
creating that market here by building the, waste to energy facilities. That's really all we need to do is waste to energy facilities.
I think it's pretty ridiculous not to find a poor an African country, which would take all our garbage for a little bit money, right? Our politicians fail here.
What's Germany looking like these days?
It is good that you mentioned this, because the same thing is here. Because Germany or a lot of parts here in Europe also ship their stuff to China, until they said no, we don't want this anymore. And now I think what I heard is that in our garbage camps, they are burning this shit, just like before, like the decades before. They start shipping it to China.
Well, good report. Depressing report, but
excellent.
thanks,
Yeah.
Amos.
Yeah.
Burning is what we're supposed to be doing, but there's a way to do that, a proper way. It just costs money.
Yeah.
Marcus.
And it produces energy. And gosh, who wants that coming from something, useful?
It does. It's amazing.
Yeah.
What are you talking about,
Yeah.
Marcus?
Yeah, this is another strange coincidence. We are sticking to the topic. We are talking about garbage. We are not talking about plastic garbage. We are talking about garbage politics, and we are going to Germany and we are looking at the alternative for Germany, our red-wing party here. And honestly, if this is our the alternative for Germany, then shoot me, because those guys are, you could not call them any more stupid. This is beyond stupid what they're coming up with. Let's look quickly back at the history of the AfD. They got popular here in Germany when the migration crisis hit us here in Europe and in Germany, and we had to take a lot of people in, This was, okay, of course, some people here in Germany were not that happy with the situation, and this brought in the AfD into every state government here in Germany. So they have influence. They are the opposition in our parliaments, and and now they are seeing that the topic is not drawing so many votes anymore because Europe became a fortress. It is very, very hard for any migrant to come over here right now, and so they got to find a new topic. And yes. You could not believe this, but it's true. They are now starting to oppose the climate change, and it came up in the Spiegel, and they are also doing billboards here in Germany already because we are close to the European election, which are happening in 2 weeks here. And the Spiegel is reporting German populists are adopting climate change denialism as a new campaign strategy. The Far Alternative for Germany party has begun directing its unscientific claims at global warming activists like 16-year-old Greta Thunberg, and says it wants to be a party that saves the diesel, Yes. It goes on. They have some very prominent idiots in their party, leading in the leading part of the party, and there is, for example, Alexander Gauland, and he is a climate crisis denier, and he says it is completely unclear what role humans were playing in climate change. And he brings up a conspiracy theory. He's talking about degenerate fear mongering by the Green Party. You gotta know that the Green Party here is got a lot of support. Meanwhile, over the past years, especially after the last year when we had this hard-hitting summer here in Germany. And they see this is one of those topics which all other parties agree on, more or less half-heartedly, as we know. But in general, they're all trying to pretend to do something against the climate crisis, but not the AfD. The AfD says we clearly got to save our car industry. And it cannot happen that we kill our diesel engines, and the people have a right to do this. And everything is more important than the environment. And he goes on, then he comes up with his own horror scenario in all this, He would see the United States of Europe, a deindustrialized settlement covered in wind turbines, in which not only all national identities would be abolished, but all cars would be electric and only available via car sharing. What a horror to think about this, right? And it is... And there's already a code. There's also a code in it, for typical for right-wingers, when he's talking about national identities. National identities is nothing else than, a more elegant word for racism. And that's all about. They are trying to get a topic which is not set, which is not already positioned by other parties. And in general, it doesn't matter what this topic is. Most important is to be against all others. And they go on. They're trying to ridicule Greta Thunberg. There's another idiot in the AfD. He's called Jörg Meuthen. He's pronounced in English Jerk Meuthen, and this is exactly what he is. And Jörg Meuthen recalled an awakening experience in the European Parliament in mid-April, explaining that a guest had come to visit. Hold on to your hat. This was a very, very high-ranking state visit, the holy Greta from Sweden. And the audience, of course, there was laughing, But seriously, the parliament's president had greeted the 16-year-old student, and what's more, he told the audience Greta had received thundering applause. Yeah, and the next day he goes on. I don't want to read it all out. The next day he says she met the Pope, and he gave him a small audience. This is so cheap and ridiculous. And I hope, and in this case, I really gotta hope that the next summer will be hitting us as hard as the last time, because I hope this would shrink the votes for the AfD. It is unbelievable. The other thing is, which is very interesting here, is if you look at the general program of the AfD here, the first point we talked about, this climate change is no option, or anything against this is no option for the AfD. The European Union is also nothing they want to be part of. And this is quite nice. I'm coming to this in another slide. Education, they have very crude and strange thoughts of, regarding inclusion and immigration. Of course, they don't want any immigration. Trade agreements, they also neglect. This is a debatable thing, in my opinion, but all the other stuff is completely stupid. And if you show us, please, the next slide, they are coming up with those billboards here. And you see the subline, the billboard says, rather diesel than green idiocity. They are talking about the Greens, and that they are trying to get away from the fossil fuels. And look at the subtitle, Europeans vote AfD. They are completely against Europe. So, and this is completely stupid, and it is a typical populist way, to cheat people, to make people believe their stupidity, and what can we say? I can go on, and the AfD is a party which is completely not to be taken serious, in my opinion. And the thing is, the AFD is also here in Europe or in our region one of the most influential climate deniers here. If you look at the last slide, I'll finish this segment soon. There you got a list of all the other countries which have parties, and their position on it. And there's only one thing, if you know that Hungary is also under a real right-wingers government now. They are affirmative to the climate crisis, which is astounding. The rest is more or less not astounding, and this is a position of the right-wingers. Climate change is no option for there or the climate crisis, and yeah, this is regrettable, but it shows their stupidity. And,
have they gained members? Did the AFD gain?
This is very fresh, and I think in the next weeks we will see if this is something which would hook in public or in their voter base or not. I think we really would see it in the summer, in the late summer, when we see what's going on with our climate here.
Oh, but didn't you guys just have an election? How did they do in that?
You mean the European election? Yeah, of course. This is a European election. Yeah, Hungary was excluded from the conservative wing in the European Parliament. And they are trying now to gain forces with France and with other right-wing countries and get more influence in the European Parliament. But, their motivation is to destroy all this. They want to go out of Europe, and yeah.
Oh, so that was that was national, not the local German one that just happened. Okay.
No, they are now doing those billboards, all these campaigns for the European election in 2 weeks.
Okay. So we'll see how popular they are, I guess.
We will see, and a lot of depends on how the other countries here in Europe would vote. If the new right wing party or the right wing, apart from the existing conservatives, how many votes they would get, how they would be an influence, a force in the future European Parliament. We will see.
There's a lot of people that really seem to think it's okay just to go extinct. These guys for the sake of diesel. Like, okay.
I think I don't know if it would be the same people to address with this topic than they did before with their migration crisis.
Right.
They got all the right wingers, the neo-Nazis, and all those idiots in there. Well, I don't know if this topic is something which would bring them votes, because you got to know, one of our surveys here in Germany was that number one topic was the migration crisis, and topic number two was the climate crisis.
And that was like across all the parties, right? Climate crisis really across most of the parties.
Yes, but I think the majority in Germany is very worried about what's going on.
Right.
At least, they also do not get. They do not get any concrete suggestions from our governments how to address this.
Right.
This is where our politics completely fail, and I don't expect anything from them, to be honest.
Right. Well, and you guys have a more functional democracy.
Yeah,
looking good over there.
Yes, they are not in charge yet. This is, if you want. So this is, they shouldn't run in blue colors. They should run in orange colors. But because they are doing the same populist bullshit like the Trumpists are doing.
Right. Well, thank you. It's a great report on your right-wing party.
Welcome.
Yeah.
I wish that progressives around the world would have some sort of unified way to coordinate with each other and push that agenda forwards, because I think it's not each independent country. We're all like in it together. The problems are global.
Of course, but we can't use the word globalism because that's been turned into a horrible word, right? We have to come up with a better word. I want to see XR become our communication hub. We should be centering around climate.
And if you think about it, what we are seeing here in France, in our neighbor country, with the Yellow Vest movement, it is kind of that those guys are in the AFD. This is what my idea would be.
Some of them, I think you got some. I think that's a confusing bunch. I think you got just a lot of pissed off people. I'm
talking about those people of the Yellow Vest movement, which
Yeah.
have clearly an identical agenda, you know.
Right.
Or
yeah,
you know.
like we identify.
Not
There's a
all
lot
of
of
them, not all of
nationalism.
them, of course.
Yeah, yeah. But even the guy Roman Light was very nationalist.
He
Right.
was he was a nationalist. He was, in my opinion, he was a racist. Yes.
So yeah. Anyway, yeah, interesting. I don't understand how it's like racists are like, we want to only be alive and climate change, whatever, as long as we're alive. It's like, well, yeah, but you're going to be dead too. I don't understand why you think you're going to survive. There are no bunkers that are going to save any of the 1%, because the rest of us are going to make sure of that.
Yeah.
You know, they really need to think about that. If they're like, oh no, I'm going to go hide in my bunker, everything's going to be okay. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna make it. But that those guys really frighten me, Marcus. They, you know what I mean?
Of course, because we will see where the harder the times will be in the future, and they definitely will be. You know, the bigger the chance, you know, that you get those people in government somehow, in some ways, you know, and then. Wow. Then, as I said, you know, if this is an alternative, what our policy in Germany or in Europe is,
right,
then shoot me.
Right. And, you know, Laura, just to bring it back around to Adriel, we didn't even talk about the other topic he wanted to go on. You know, we have to bring him on for that. And that is just how fascist we are looking in America right now. Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty bad. And what's flown under the radar are the numerous things that the government has changed. So yeah, we'll have to have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a battle. We talked about this before. It's definitely the battle between good and evil right now.
Yes.
You're either on the side of capitalism or you're on the side of humanity. You're on the side of
the stand on climate change.
Yes, it is. It is the stand. That is exactly what it is. Yeah. It's just not as cool. Unfortunately, not so far. Not so far. We don't have a I don't know where the cabin is and the old lady, and I don't know. We just don't have any of the cool stuff. We have Bernie.
Yay!
Got Bernie.
Yay!
And just on the other side of things, we're gonna get out of here real quick. I just had a few funnies. This is Joe Biden. This is his. You know, other than his climate, he wants to find middle ground on the climate crisis, which everybody's laughing at it today. This was just captured. I had there's a link to listen to this whole thing, but it's fucking hilarious. It literally says, if you go out and bundle, this is a quote, $250K for me, and then you call me after I'm elected, I'm going to say, come on in. And
you do know that this is from 2008, though, right?
That is from 2008, but he's good.
I mean, that doesn't mean it's changed.
No.
It's just there it comes right out and says it. I just want to make sure people understood that this isn't just captured, you know, yesterday.
He looks the same. But
I know. It's the same.
To prove it, he just went to a big ass fundraiser, right? Comcast funded fundraiser, right? At the same time, well, Bernie's at a picket line. He crossed a picket line to go to Biden crossed a picket line to go to his fundraiser, all right, for his new group of bundlers, right? Larry got an email.
Two picket lines that day.
Yeah.
The health one too.
Yeah.
So.
The thing that he says in here that they took out of this, because there's the dots, right? The full script, he says, he goes, that's not corruption. It's just human nature. If you're going to bring me a whole bunch of money, human nature in me is going to want to do you favors. That's how he justifies
You helped me, so I want to help you.
Yeah, and that's how he explained. That's just human nature, everybody. You know?
And that makes it all good.
It makes it all good.
Man.
I saw your country, and it was full of oil, and so I blew you up and took it. It's just human nature.
Because you asked me to. Some nice person asked me to.
We can justify anything in America that way. We do. So that's Joe Biden's. It's middle ground on climate change, Joe. This one is interesting. So this is a positive, really quick. Oregon DEQ denied Jordan Cove's water permit, which is just another wrench in their ability to run a pipeline through. Right. I was looking this happened earlier in the week, and I had a different article on this, and it was a very positive article. It was a bunch of positive, articles in Oregon and other papers, The Guardians, that a lot of people have been talking about this, Bill McKibben, because this was pretty huge, all right? And I actually didn't expect this. I expected to see Jordan Cove rammed through, all right? This is Western Wire, and the narrative on Western Wire is definitely pro-fracking, pro-fossil fuels, and it's a more of a Colorado-based thing. I had no idea that Colorado benefits from the Jordan Cove pipeline. Did you know that? This apparently affects millions of jobs, or whatever the hell they say. You gotta read this. This is like the state agency's denial on Monday of a critical water permit under federal law, and the lack of support from state energy offices in western states could threaten to shut down a liquefied natural gas export terminal meant to draw the fuel from western states and ship to customers around the world, including Asia, resulting in billions in missed economic gains and the loss of critical rural jobs. That is the opening paragraph of Western Wire. Not win one for the environment. It's all these lost jobs, which is bullshit because they don't actually employ a lot of actual people for this. It's very short temporary jobs. We all know this. And then a few people get paid a whole lot of fucking money to be assholes to the environment there. That's basically how these pipelines go. So when we talk about narrative, when we talk about the power of narrative, who do you think they're reaching? How is this spun? So when you hear labor people, like what Adriel was talking about, Mr. Labor, he's like, all these jobs that we're losing in fracking. I mean, yeah, environment, but jobs. Like, dead people can't work. I'm sorry. Dead people can't work. I know if capitalists could find a way to make dead people work, our grandparents, great-grandparents, they'd be working right now. Genghis Khan be fucking working a factory right now. Right?
So it's going to improve the ratios.
Yeah.
We'll have less
Yes. Yes. So I just blown away by the narrative here for Western Wire. Your head is up the fossil fuel industry's ass, apparently. Right? Now, the other funny thing about this, did I do it? Oh, I didn't get a copy of it. No, so there's another quote in here I didn't grab, but Polis, who I believe is the governor of Colorado, and his administration, right? And Polis, prior to get elected, Polis was a progressive. Once he got elected, Polis immediately remained sucking the cock of, he was like, oil and gas, I love you, because Colorado loves oil and gas, all right? So he had to win on a progressive agenda, and then he got in and just did what we all expected him to do. His administration now takes and I love this term, neutral stance on natural gas. Is that middle ground?
This is bullshit.
They're not for it. They're not against it. They're just neutral. I don't know what the fuck that means, other than we like the fossil fuel industry, right? So anyway, I said that this just bothered me. I grew up in Colorado. Colorado has been turned into a fucking frack pit. It's gross. It's really, I don't like going back. The air is gross. When you look around, it's disgusting. You can see the film of brown everywhere. And yet Coloradans drive around with their lattes and their SUVs talking about how beautiful and wonderful the nature is, and look at the Rockies, and oh, we've got this, and yeah, but just take your fucking SUV and drive a little farther into Weld County. Take a look at the fracking. I mean,
fly over it in an airplane and look at all of the little pads with all the little roads going to them.
It's so gross. It's so gross. It's disgusting. Mm-hmm. And I want to mention one other thing with this. And I'm not doing my big story. We're going to push that till next week. Religion is totally tied to this shit. Totally tied to it. Because if you look at where shale, this fracking used to be called just shale back in the 80s. And when you look at when it started in Colorado, they started doing shale in the 80s, way out in Gunnison and Rifle, Colorado, that area, which nobody gave a shit about that area except for a little ski resort. All right. Other than that, it was just a place. Now it's a hell on earth. And when I was, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, this was happening. This was when it was starting to really boom up. I had a friend who was his parents were nutso evangelical. Their pastor moved their entire church to Rifle, Colorado to support the fossil fuel industry for Jesus. All right. So it's some pretty twisted, fucked up shit linking business and greed together, which always goes together. And religion is just another business, and it's extremely greedy. And so you've got
the Bible said it.
What?
John, the Bible said it. It says, and fill the earth and subdue it.
Right. You're right.
Here we go.
It's ours to conquer. So anyway,
Damn.
boo on Colorado. Yay, you just legalized mushrooms, but it's still illegal to be poor. You're poor people on the streets it's still illegal to camp in Denver, but you can get high on shrooms. Yay for you, Colorado. God, I'm so disgusted with my own hometown. Sorry, just had to go off on Colorado. By the way, thank you, Schultze, and thank you, who donated earlier?
Al
Al?
did, I believe.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Thank
In
you,
memory
Bob.
of Polly Higgins, who died last month, lawyer for the Earth and great eco warrior.
Oh, yeah,
That's
how sad.
perfect. Thank you, Schultze.
And great, yeah. Thank you. All right. That was all. I'm not going to do my big story, which was really sad. It was on the end of ice. There's a link in there, and I'm just going to show you the title. We'll talk about it next week, maybe. But this is a really sad book, and you're going to want to read it and read the quotes in this article. So just click on the link and read it. But I'm not gonna right now. It's too much. It's too much. We don't have 10 years. So when you see people posting on Twitter, 12 years left. No, it was 12 years a couple years ago. 10 years. Nope, we don't have 10 years anymore. New reports, new information. About 5. Even Greta Thunberg today. 5 years, folks.
No.
She said we got 5 years to get our shit together. 5 years, folks. This was Greta today. All right, so.
May I quote ex-rebellion? We're fucked.
No, it doesn't mean stop trying. We may be fucked.
No way. Of course not.
I know, but
It sure doesn't mean let's take a middle ground.
Yes. Yeah.
yes, a middle ground on extinction. What does that look like? I want to know.
Let's talk about this topic. Neutral.
There's no bunker, Joe. There's no bunker that's going to save you. Eat the rich. We mean that. We mean that. All right, last week on UHM. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah. You start.
Me? All right.
Yeah.
That's right. This is
Chronological, baby.
Hang on.
Chronological.
No, this is where I put up this shot and we do this.
Yeah.
Hang on. You're here. Bink.
Yeah.
There we go. Hi, everybody. It's Laura and John, and we're going to talk about last week on UHM. The 2020 DPO delegate selection plan. Larry went over this in depth, and it was a good show. And as Adriel said earlier, with him learning what was going on in the California State Democratic Party, Larry has been doing amazing work on the Oregon Democratic Party and just how corrupt it is. And it is seriously corrupt and has serious problems. And I hope that the good people within the Democratic Party of Oregon watch this show, understand just how fucked up things are, and that your chair doesn't get to make up shit and do what the hell she wants. And just because something was decided by the previous chair who made up shit and do what the hell she wants doesn't mean you get to keep doing it. So Larry talked about this. It's phenomenal, and it's professionally done. And I really just want to say thank you to Larry and Betsy for all of your work highlighting the corrupt aspects of the Democratic Party of Oregon with almost no attention, and nobody seems to give a shit within the Democratic Party of Oregon. It's just really sad. So I really hope that in these next, as we approach 2020, that there's a spotlight shine on Larry and his work, and that we can clean up the DPO to make it something worthy of the people in it. Because right now it is not worthy of my attention. It's not even worthy of $1 of my money. Okay, so I just want to say
It's
that.
interesting how this show has evolved over the couple of years that we've been doing it.
Yes.
Even more than that, and how it started out being, part of the inside works, and now it's exposed so much, and now it's reporting on it. It's yeah, and it was interesting. You reached out to the Bernie Sanders campaign. How can we help? And what did they do? They directed you back to the Bernie app.
Well,
before we start, that's a nice rounding out.
Yeah, that response wasn't the best.
But still, that's true. That's where it starts.
It is. So, all right, that's me. You?
Okay. And then last week we met Joshua Collins, who's running for Congress in Washington District 10. Had a great conversation with him. Really strong candidate. He aced Progressive Jeopardy. We're really looking forward to following his campaign. Very progressive, very labor-oriented, young, energetic, and he's making the rounds. I haven't seen his TYT interview that he had the next day, though.
I haven't either.
Find that. He said it was really short, though, and he didn't get a chance to talk about nearly as much stuff as he did.
Really?
Well, he didn't say that. Well, he said it was short and he didn't get to talk about his automation story, which I think we let him talk about. So.
Yeah. Jeez, I thought we cut him short. Great. I'm glad. Good.
Yeah, so that was good. So, and then next week, what's on Progressive Oregon tomorrow, John?
Oh, let's see. You're priming me.
We're going chronologically.
Very nice.
Come on.
I'm going in order. Albert Lee, and I made this card. Everybody.
Yay!
Hey.
Nice layers there, John.
That's me cutting out Albert Lee with Sony Vegas and putting him on there. Okay, so no, it is not nearly as good as Ash, but whatever. Yeah.
Thank you, Density.
Thank you, Density.
Dennis, thank
Appreciate
you.
that. That's wonderful. Really appreciate, and we need it because I had to start taking a small salary again because I've got a lot of bills. So thank you everybody for donating because some of it's now going back to me.
Thank you.
I now take a salary of $150 a month from UHM. I just want y'all to know that. So, just full disclosure. Full disclosure.
Hey,
and actually, what it
keep
does
the lights on. Damn it.
Yep.
I can't take. The problem is that Larry has a whole bunch of stuff he's paying for. Everybody's paying for a bunch of stuff under UHM, and I can't move a lot of this stuff over there. So we're just kind of doing this. So anyway, whatever. And it also lets me keep my health insurance, which is cool.
Nice.
Very
I actually
important,
have state health insurance now. All right, back to
Good for
this.
you.
Who's and then we have Nathan Clay.
Yes, we have next week. We have another young progressive candidate, Nathan Clay. He's running for Congress in Colorado, District 7. I don't know a lot about him yet, so I'm looking forward to meeting him. But he's kind of in that same age cohort as Joshua Collins, and really cool to see this age. And both of them, I would say, attribute Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to inspiring them.
Really?
Yeah, they're both of them.
that.
He mentions that specifically on his website, that she's a big inspiration
so
to
cool.
him. So
That's so
so
cool.
yeah.
And Colorado, so I'm going to hit him hard on the fracking. I'm going to find
Yeah, well, I'm sure he'll have something to say about that. And then the other thing, we don't have a card for it or anything, but we are still working on getting that dual interview with Mike Gravel and Shahid Buttar that hopefully will happen before the end of the month. I would love to talk to them before the convention, but maybe talking to them after we'll have some new things.
Yeah.
But it'll be a really interesting conversation. We're looking forward that we're working with Senator Gravel's team to set that up.
Yes. Yeah. I'm really happy about this because I want to do something different than just interview them both.
Yeah.
Right. So we can talk to them about the issues. Right. Shahid's been a follower of Gravel's work, and they both have similar, records and advocacy. So it should be a great conversation with two extremely smart people.
Yeah.
So,
It'll be real easy. We'll just sit back.
Make sure your brain's ready to go for that one. You watch it. Thank you for all the work you're doing setting that up, Laura. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. That's what I do.
I don't even put my new pictures in. Where'd they go? I talked about I didn't open up my new pictures. Dang. I had like a short to go out with. Hang on.
If I may, before we split
Please.
up, I just wanted to mention that Jay Inslee, governor of Washington, is also running his campaign, and I don't think he expects to get too far with the campaign, but he is trying to get on the debate stage, and his main issue is Green New Deal and the environment and the global climate change. And I think it's probably a good thing for us to support him with $1 in order for him to be on that stage and push that agenda and make it even more prominent.
Yeah.
Is he close? Because the deadline's the 15th.
I think so, but of course it's important that he gets as many single dollar donations as possible to count. So.
All right. Well, it'd be nice. I mean, I like this idea of having some people in there just to push the climate agenda. I think it's sad that we have to do it, but yeah.
Yep.
It's nice. Yeah. Thanks for putting that up. So what's this end song, Marcus? What do you got here? Peeping.
Oh, well, yeah, the end song. 3 reasons why I picked this song. First reason is I admire Mike Patton, Mike Patton from Faith and More, and he had so many other projects running. This is one of them, Peeping Tom. It is about nearly 10 years old, 9 years old. It's a fantastic song. I love this song, and I will just dedicate this song to a very wonderful woman. Hi, Tyra. See you later.
That's for another show.
Yes.
Hi, Tyra. Nice to meet you.
Oh, my, that's funny. All right. Thank you so much for the pick, Marcus. Amos, Laura, thank you so much for being here, Marcus.
Of course.
Thank you guys for all your
Thank
hard
you
work.
guys for watching, and tune in again.
Next time.
Audience, thank you so much for being here. We really didn't have much to say to you. Hope we talked to you more in chat. And very funny. You guys will all appreciate this. Pod Save America, which is like I don't know that they're really progressive, but everybody's heard of them, right? They're big and no?
Not progressive. They're centrist.
Right. Yeah, they're centrist. So Larry pays attention to them. Guess what they're doing for the first time coming up? They're going to broadcast on YouTube and take questions from chat.
Wow.
So
What a great idea.
That's nice.
centrism picking it up there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just impressive. All right.
Who could have imagined this? Damn it.
Let's where's the damn video go? I lost the page. Hang on.
We're hanging on.
Where's my
Too many
media?
tabs open.
No. Oh, there. All right. Here we go.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I had no idea who this guy was until you mentioned Faith No More, you know.